Hey there, friends. One thing that we never run out of in this country is examples for the old adage, rules for thee, not for me. But first, if you guys will go take a look at my friends Gideon Optics. Gideon has some really affordable optics out there, multi-purpose optics. I've actually been running one of their mediator optics on one of my shotguns here recently, and this thing is taking the full beating of everything. But they have a long line of other ones. In fact, I think they're going to be introducing some new optics at SHOT Show this year as well. So go check out my new friends at Gideon Optics. Check them out at GideonOptics.com. Again, GideonOptics.com. A Secret Service agent guarding one of President Biden's granddaughters fired at 3 people seen breaking into an unoccupied government vehicle in Washington late Sunday, but did not appear to have hit them, according to a senior law enforcement official. The 3 people remain at large, and there is no indication that they knew that the vehicle was part of the protective detail for Mr. Biden's granddaughter, Naomi Biden, when they smashed a window around 11:30 p.m. in the upscale Georgetown section of the city. According to a spokesman for the Secret Service, during this encounter, a federal agent discharged a service weapon, and it is believed no one was struck. The 3 would-be burglars fled in a red vehicle, and a bulletin was immediately issued to local and federal law enforcement agencies. Now, the media and politicians are making excuses for all of these robbers that are out there and all these carjackers, and they're creating workarounds rather than actually trying to mitigate the crime issue. They talk about how it's part of the post-pandemic spike in crime. In other words, just like blaming guns for people shooting people, the pandemic is the reason why we have a spike in crime. It's not the bad guys that's the problem. So it takes the focus off on the actual criminal, which is again why they let them out on the street so quickly. So let's not blame the guy breaking in. Poor guy, the pandemic and all, we got to cut him some slack, right? Because going through a pandemic makes you want to break into cars and steal them, right? I wonder if the Secret Service has considered using the Apple AirTags that the DC mayor suggested a week or so ago. Let's just give out AirTags, because since we're not really serious about taking care of the actual root cause of the problem, which is criminals deciding that they want to steal, let's go ahead and accept the fact that we're not going to do anything, and we're going to allow the criminals to steal. So we're going to issue these little tracking devices like an Apple AirTag to put into your vehicle. So guess what? You have the convenience of knowing where your ragged out piece of crap vehicle is now after the criminals steal it and go through it and ransack the thing. At least you know where to go to get it. And we're going to give those to you for free because, again, we're not serious about curbing the crime. We're just serious about helping you find your garbage vehicle after it's been stolen. Now, there's something that I want to point out, and it's the obvious question, the big giant elephant in the room. Notice this third paragraph down here. There was no threat to protectees, according to the statement, which did not specify whom they might be. Well, if they were commissioned to protect Biden's granddaughter, Naomi Biden, we can best assume that the protectee is at least Naomi Biden, right? The granddaughter of the president. Okay, if that was the case, and their official statement is that no threat to the protectee was there, let's go look at the statute in Washington, D.C. All right, first let's get a little giggle out of these first couple where it says Section 72502 allows a person to possess and use self-defense spray in defense of themselves on their property. So in D.C., I'm laughing because I'm in the South. I'm in Louisiana. We don't have these stupid laws. You have to have permission to carry pepper spray in DC. And it's stating that you have permission, which allows a person to possess and use self-defense spray in self-defense of themselves or their property. The next section allows people 18 and over to possess a stun gun. So you have an age limit on tasers and stun guns, which can only be used in defense of person or property. And the next section says it specifically allows a person to discharge a firearm when it's done in legitimate self-defense. So first you have to be able to get a firearm in DC, right? We're not going to go into all of that, but getting a firearm in DC ain't like getting a firearm in Louisiana, or carrying one for that matter. But let's assume these guys are Secret Service, so they've already received that permission to have one. I wonder if the rules apply to Secret Service. I realize that politicians are above the law. Secret Service too, I guess, because it does say specifically allows a person to discharge a firearm when it's done in legitimate self-defense. If I walk out of my house and I see somebody breaking into my vehicle, is it okay for me to just fire a couple of shots at them? In other words, obviously they weren't armed. Obviously they didn't shoot at the Secret Service guys because there's no statement about that. Now, granted, they're not going to give you much more information than this, but we know, since they didn't say that they were shot at and they didn't say they feared for their lives, they didn't say somebody was bearing a knife at them, because they would have, then we know that they were not in any kind of a threat. So the only reason why they shot at these guys is because they were trying to hit them. They were trying to shoot them. Because please don't tell me that they subscribe to the Biden mentality of self-defense by shooting firearm shots off into the air. Please don't tell me that. So if I'm going to eliminate the fact that these guys were not shooting a gun into the air to scare the guys off like Biden would have you do, then I have to assume they were trying to hit those guys. So Secret Service, it's okay for these guys to murder somebody for breaking into a vehicle. I'm not saying it's okay to break into the vehicle. Please don't misunderstand what I'm stating here. What I'm telling you is, if I saw somebody breaking into my vehicle at my house even, I still would not just crack the door, put my barrel out, and shoot at them. I'm going to encounter them. And if they try to attack me, I will lay them out in the front yard. These guys did not do that. Were these guys bum rushed? No. Again, according to the reports, there was no threat. In fact, it specifically states that these guys took off running, hopped in a red car, and got out of there. So these guys were fleeing the entire time, never posing a threat. I wonder how that same law would be applied to you and I if we were in D.C. or some of these other wacko left-leaning cities, and we decided to walk out of our front door and just shoot at somebody who was breaking into our vehicles. And I wonder how the politicians are going to finally react to all this, because let's not forget, there was 3 Biden voters, or at least potential Biden voters, that were breaking into that car. Yes, statistically speaking, I'm correct. I don't need proof of this. You have brainwashed these inner city idiots so well that I know without a doubt that if these 3 people cast a vote, it will be for Joe Biden in 2024. We know this is a statistical fact. You people have done your best to brainwash these people, and there is no doubt in my mind that inner city people will continue to vote for the slave master Democrats every single time, because nothing changes for them, but they throw a little cheese at them every now and then, so they think it's cool. The media has painted this picture that they are victims as a result of some other political party, so they have christened a particular political party to be the one that they are told to vote for, and they, in lockstep, will continue to vote for that exact same party every single time. Now, they say that Metro Police is investigating this. Come on, really? We know this is getting swept under the rug. First of all, I've had an encounter with Metro Police before. They're a joke. Little short fat guy come up to me because he saw me taking pictures in Washington, D.C. He wanted to take a picture of my driver's license, which I would not let him do. So he said I would have to wait while they ran my license, and I wondered, why was I even being stopped? And he said, because I was taking pictures of sensitive areas, assuming that I was some kind of a terrorist. I'm a white dude. I was wearing a blue jean jacket with my logo, Legally Armed America, on the front of it. So you know what he was stereotyping me as? He was stereotyping me as a January 6th insurrectionist, because he specifically said, well, you know, after January 6th and all. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't know after January 6th and all. I look like a terrorist? You're in Washington, D.C., and I look like the terrorist? So this guy with the Metro PD was also one of these slaves who still did not realize that there was no real insurrection. I'm not going to get into that whole debate now, but nobody was charged for insurrection. So how do you call it an insurrection when there was nobody charged? I mean, how do you tell somebody that, hey, aren't you guilty of breaking and entering when you're not charged for it? So again, my point is, Metro PD, they're going to do whatever they're told. They're not looking for the truth. You will never hear another thing about this case from Metro PD or any other politician, because they want this to go away. They certainly don't want to encourage the type of activity that we saw here, and I don't either. Firing shots off at somebody indiscriminately in a heavily populated area for breaking a window on a vehicle? Are you kidding me? I'm not saying that's okay again. Certainly not condoning any type of crime. But I'm not trying to take somebody's life because they're trying to break a window on a vehicle. Will I encounter them? 100%. You bet your ass I will. But I'm not looking to murder somebody. I'm not looking to take a life over a broken window on a vehicle on the street that, let's remember, did not belong to anybody there. That vehicle belonged to us. This was not like this was that Secret Service agent's own personal vehicle and personally they were damaging his property. Let's not forget that. They were damaging government property that this guy did not have any emotional ties to, yet he felt like he needed to shoot at those guys doing that.
Break yourself, fool! Tight.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's over!